In this video, we're going to talk about xanthelasma removal by using electrical AC arcing. Xanthelasma are benign lesions and therefore removed for aesthetic reasons only. Because of this, the procedure can be carried out by non-medical personnel. Also, please bear in mind there are many ways of removing xanthelasma, and the use of electrical arcing is one of them. Also, we'd like to remind not to promise a scar-free result, because as we've seen in the past, in the removal of benign lesions, there's many factors that contribute to the end result. Also, bear in mind as well that whenever you've got the new skin that grows in place of the xanthelasma, its texture will be slightly different anyway. In here we have made 3 representations of how xanthelasma grow inside the skin, and this part here between the black and the blue is the epidermis, and the part here underneath the blue is the dermis. So the interesting thing about xanthelasma is that even when they grow deep into the skin, they push down the dermis, but they don't make integral part of the dermis. Therefore, you can remove them completely even without causing any scarring, because you're not touching the dermis at the end of the day. Also, in some other cases, xanthelasma are quite superficial, so you can remove them quite effectively even without digging deep into the skin. So if you used, for instance, the technique of leveling off the mole with the surrounding skin area, what you'll find is that the yellow part is still going to be visible when you have already leveled it off with the surrounding skin area, but then later on, once the area recover, say for example if you remove part of xanthelasma part B, say for example you don't just level it off and you just go a bit deeper inside the skin, then later on that the part that was pushing down into the dermis, if the xanthelasma hasn't grown even further, will have surfaced again onto the skin, so it's still going to be visible, but in reality, if the xanthelasma hasn't grown, also is quite smaller. So in some cases, what you find is that you think you have removed a good chunk of it, but then it reappears, and it does it because you haven't removed it completely, and it tends to not grow back but be pushed upwards and have this sort of result, and the overall area, provided that the xanthelasma hasn't grown in size, will be quite comparable. Another interesting thing about xanthelasma is that generally, if removed completely, they do not grow back in the same area. That doesn't mean that there's not going to be any recurrence issues, because say for example if you manage to remove a xanthelasma and it has this sort of shape, later on after a few months or some years, if the xanthelasma will recur, what you'll find is that it is almost as if it is trying to avoid the area where you removed it before. And this happens not only with AC electrical arcing, but also if you removed it with lasers or a TCA or other methods. So once again, remember that xanthelasma can recur, and there's no guarantee that they will not recur, but if you remove it properly, they don't tend to recur in the same area where they reside previously. So thank you very much for watching, and right now we're going to show you this very interesting video on removing xanthelasma by using AC electrical arcing. We hope you enjoyed the previous clip, and right now we would like to draw your attention to how Xanthelasma, as well as some other benign skin lesions, grow inside the skin. As we've seen, for example in case of Xanthelasma C, this particular skin lesions is growing quite superficial inside the skin. Therefore, just leveling it off with the surrounding skin area and also going slightly down to remove it completely but still remaining within the epidermis region, we'll have it to remove it completely within one session. However, some other Xanthelasma, as well as some other benign skin lesions, do grow inside the skin quite deeply and push down onto the upper part of the dermis, but they don't make integral part of the skin. So what you see really is like the top of the iceberg, because most of it is inside the skin. So because it's not integral part of the skin, you can go down and remove it completely within one session without damaging the dermis and therefore minimizing the risk of scarring. And only in this way you will be able to remove a deeply rooted benign skin lesions. Because if you just level it off with the surrounding skin area, what you'll find is that it will seem as if it has grown back onto the surface and you haven't done much in the previous session. However, you have done something, because the overall size of the skin lesion is going to reduce after you have used voltaic electrical arcing. So if you just level them off with the surrounding skin area, you will require a number of sessions to remove them completely. So once again, having the knowledge of the type of benign skin lesion you're dealing with will help you in removing them successfully within one session. Once again, we hope you found this video quite useful, and thank you very much for watching.